welcome back to another episode of From Prison to the Streets. I'm Eric, and I did 11 years in prison, and I talk about prison stuff. In today's episode, I'm talking about mass shakedowns. It's probably going to be a short video, but I thought I would kind of tell you guys a little bit about mass shakedowns. I mentioned it in a previous video, so I thought I would talk about it a bit. So with that, be sure to like and subscribe, and here we go. So a mass shakedown in prison is where they come in, and by they I mean officers, black suits, brown suits. It's usually a whole bunch of officers. They come in and they shake down entire pods, entire cell houses at a time. They'll come in with 20, 30 officers, and sometimes more, and they'll just shake everybody down. They'll hit every cell in a unit, or they'll hit every living area in a unit if it's an open dorm or something like that. And sometimes it's kind of unnerving. There's a lot of apprehension and anxiety around there, especially if you've been down for a while. You're going to have a lot of property, a lot of what they call nuisance contraband. So extra photos, extra spoons, extra cups, stuff like that. Stuff that's not really dangerous. It's not really something that they want to write people up for, but it's just stuff that makes your life more comfortable in prison. Usually a mass shakedown will happen when they know something is going on in a unit. If they have a lot of K2 on the yard or something like that, they'll do a mass shakedown. Or if they have a new class of trainees. You'll have all these guys going through training as officers. They have to go through a lot of training when they become officers, and I say it's a lot, but it probably isn't as much training as they need. And part of their class is doing a mass shakedown. Before they graduate, they will do a mass shakedown, and usually a couple days prior to a mass shakedown, they will have the rookies out on the yard, the new class out on the yard or in front of the chow hall, and everybody who's walking past when they run chow or whatever will get patted down, and that's usually the first sign that there's a mass shakedown coming. Now, when they do a mass shakedown, you will not be let out of your cell first thing in the morning like usual. Usually at 7 o'clock in the morning, they open up the doors, they open up day room and stuff. You can go get your ice and things like that. 8:30, you go to yard, or at least that's what it is in Kansas. Every prison schedule is a little bit different. But when they do a mass shakedown, they don't let you out. Everything stays locked down for a little while. And that is the second sign that you're about to get your house tore up. So you're basically waiting in there. The doors haven't opened, day room's not open up. There's something going on. And then when they come into your unit, they'll start opening the cells. Officers will line up in front of a bunch of cells, and they'll open those doors, and the officers will go in, and they'll strip search the inmates that live in those cells. So you get strip search, you remove all your clothes, they go through your clothes, and they make sure that you don't have anything on you. You got to squat and cough and that whole thing, and then they move you out to the yard, usually the yard, the gym, something like that, and that's where you're going to be until they finish shaking down your unit. It's usually hours. You're usually stuck out on the yard for 3 to 5 hours, sometimes a little bit more, and you never know what's coming. During mass shakedowns, because it's a training thing, they're very by the book. They'll write you up over any little thing, and that leads to a lot of anxiety and apprehension. You never know. Am I going to get written up over some bullshit? What's going to happen here? Are they going to tear my cell apart real bad? Because when they shake down your cell, they do tear it apart. They take all your possessions, your family photos, your letters, stuff like that, and they throw it on the floor of the cell, or they'll throw it out front, in front of your cell. They don't have any respect for your stuff. Most officers. There were a few cool officers that would be respectful of your stuff, especially if you had been there for a while and they knew you and you weren't a knucklehead, you weren't someone who caused a bunch of problems for them. But if you got a rookie, or if you got an officer that was just a dick, you could pretty much guarantee your stuff was going to be tore up. So you sit out there on the yard waiting, and a lot of times they'll bring in an X-ray machine into the pod. and they'll run appliances through the x-ray machine to see if there's contraband hidden in there, see if there's any knives or K2 or other sorts of drugs hidden in the appliances that you have in your property. Sometimes they'll run pillows through the x-ray machine, or they will wand your mattresses down with a metal detector looking for knives and stuff. That's actually a very common place to hide big knives in prison, would be in your mattress, which is a pad about that thick. And, guys will cut those open and they'll stuff knives inside them, whatever. But then when it's all said and done, after you sit out on the yard sweating for a while, and you go back to your unit, and you might be locked down again. Sometimes they'll let you go out to day room, but they have to go shake down all the other units as well. And sometimes while they're doing that, they'll let you out to day room, but you're not going to go back out to yard because they don't want people passing stuff or communicating or things like that. So most of the time, you'll be in your unit. You might be out at day room. You might be locked in your cell. Really, it doesn't matter to me after a mass shakedown because I wanted to put my cell back together. Everything would be thrown around and trashed, so I wanted to go back and put my cell back in order. I don't like my cell to be messy, so that's what I would do. And then towards the evening, they would start calling people up to the officer's desk to get their DRs, their write-ups, because they will write crazy DRs when they do a mass shakedown. You usually get like 10, 15, 20 people getting write-ups whenever they do a mass shakedown because there's a lot of people in prison with stuff that they're not supposed to have. And you're waiting. You're waiting to see if they call your name, So there's a lot of apprehension around it. Guys get really pissed off. It causes a lot of unrest. Usually after a mass shakedown, there's a lot of ill will towards officers for a few weeks. And it's just part of living in prison. You usually get about 1, maybe 2 mass shakedowns per year, sometimes more if there's something going on, like if they got a bunch of cell phones in the facility or something like that, or a bunch of dope in the facility, they'll do more mass shakedowns. But it's a guaranteed thing. It's just part of living there in that environment. And it sucks to an extent. It's probably a necessary evil. It's something they got to do, but it adds to that feeling of not having any rights, not being human, because at any time someone can come in and they can rifle through your possessions. They can come in, go through your stuff, and throw your stuff on the floor, walk on your stuff, and just write you up for any old thing. And it's kind of a pain. But like I said, it's just part of living in that environment. Anyway, like I said, this is just a short video. I wanted to do something kind of informative and kind of clarify something that I talked about in another video. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm Eric. This has been another episode of From Prison to the Streets. I will see you all later. Break these chains.